It's a dark and gloomy day. There's heavy downpour that has made the river considerably more violent as well. A man and a woman can be seen crossing a bridge together and arriving at the riverbank. The man, who looks as if he missed the alarm to his first job interview in months, is enticed by the rapids of the flowing river. He and the woman with him then tie a red thread around each other's wrist, connecting the two as they prepare to end it all by committing a poetic double suicide together. But before they could do that, a sudden flash of light appears, followed by a random truck coming straight for the two, and it runs them both over. The man, who we'll refer to as Sensei since that's what he was in this world, and his woman both leave this world after the impact. Sensei then wakes up in an empty church. Fascinated by the Western design of it, Sensei is intrigued to see it in the afterlife, or so he thinks. That's where he is until a woman named Annette, whose job was to guide those who descended here, starts speaking, telling him this was not in fact the afterlife. It was actually another world altogether, called Zberg, a world draped in darkness, full of monsters and beasts that had been waiting for someone like Sensei to come and bring it into the light. Sensei clarifies from the clergy girl that not only did he fail to commit his double suicide, but he was actually brought to an entirely different world to live once again. While holy music is playing, Annette begins telling Sensei his purpose in the world, but Sensei has other plans as he overdoses on sedative medication. Annette freaks out and quickly detoxifies him. Yet another attempt spoiled. Sensei tells Annette she did not have to interfere like that. Annette tries motivating his spirit by telling him he was the hero whose mission was to save this world. But Sensei couldn't care less about any mission as he casually nibbles on the dangerous drugs again. Annette yells at him to stop eating those again and tells him he was chosen by this world. Annette asks Sensei if he was visited by a truck earlier, and after he says yes, she explains the lore behind it. The truck in question that had ruined his double suicide was actually another world selection truck. Its duty is to bring those unhappy in the real world here to this world where they can turn their lives around and lead fulfilling, happy lives. The fact that the truck had come for Sensei meant he was unhappy in his previous life, and so he was brought here. Annette congratulates Sensei for being selected when he suddenly gets up and starts pacing towards her. Sensei grabs her staff and tells her the stupid truck had actually ruined the happiest moment of his life, the double suicide. Annette can't believe the man standing before her. How could he be so ungrateful after being saved from a life where he was going to commit suicide? She decides to check his stats since everyone brought here is gifted with superhuman abilities and skills. Everyone except for Sensei, as he not only didn't have any such skills, but he was also on the verge of dying again as a result of snacking on the poisonous meds again. Sensei then gets up to leave, but Annette quickly grabs his hand. Seeing how unfit he was to be left alone in this terrible world, she tries stopping him from wandering outside, telling him he wouldn't survive there. Sensei laughs at his fate, which had made him a failure in both worlds, apparently. Annette tells him to stay in the church for a little longer, as going outside would only make him food for the monsters. Sensei thanks her for her concern, but continues leaving as he was actually looking for a place to die anyways. As he leaves, Annette starts realizing this man was very different from the rest. Having been excited to guide otherworlders on her planet at the start, she had gradually lost her spark and continued parroting the same things over and over again to basically the same type of person, as they were all the same essentially. But not Sensei, he was different. Annette tells him to at least get assigned a job before going out. Sensei stuns her by saying he was born to be a writer. Annette comes to the realization that she had been waiting for someone like Sensei all this time as he says goodbye, slowly closing the door. Seeing a sign written in a language completely unique to him reminded Sensei he was actually in an Isekai now. Abruptly, a voice in his head starts telling him about the experience points he had gained as an adventurer, and that he had leveled up. This, however, was of no interest to Sensei, who finds this voice quite bothersome being a migraine patient. All of a sudden, he starts hearing a girl screaming. Captured by a death tree, the girl desperately asks him for help. After admiring the beauty of a woman dying in front of his eyes for a little while, Sensei finally tries lending her a hand after she repeatedly asks him to save her. Although his help is almost as good as no help since all he does is wave his hands to reach her a little and jump half-heartedly a few times. Sensei also gets captured then. Delighted by this situation, he asks the girl if she was enjoying this as much as he was. The death tree, known for sucking out its victim's life force by using its suction skill, starts seeping every ounce of life from the two. Sensei surrenders himself to its mercy as he openly welcomes the sweet embrace of death, finally about to happen. That's when the death tree starts to turn purple suddenly and withers away. Sensei had actually poisoned the monstrous tree thanks to all the self-poisoning he had done by consuming all those pills. The cat girl is impressed by Sensei, who turned out to be, in her words, strong after all. But Sensei isn't as happy about this as she is, as this was the 5th time he had failed to unalive himself. The cat girl tells him she, for one, was happy to be alive at least and asks Sensei to come with her to her home so she could thank him properly. As he's reaching out to her, Sensei's eyes notice the red thread, instantly reminding him of Sakin, his lover. He wonders if she was here in this world as well and vows to find her no matter where she was. Why? So they could end their lives again. Back at the church, Annette devotedly prays for Sensei's safety and well-being and that they be reunited again soon. All of a sudden, as though her prayers had been answered, the door opens and in walks Sensei. Annette can't believe her eyes and starts running up to him to greet him until her entire vibe gets crushed after seeing the cat girl next to Sensei. To add insult to injury, Sensei asks Annette if she knew where a woman named Sakin could be. Seeing how gloomy Sensei was after getting no leads to find Sakin, the cat girl tries cheering Sensei up by taking him to the castle town of Roth. But as soon as she grabs his hand to show him the way, Annette smacks her hand with her staff. The cat girl asks why she was even out here, and after Annette has no clear justifications, she comes to the conclusion that Annette had fallen for Sensei. Annette immediately denies it, saying she just wanted to help Sensei since he was a weak otherworlder. The cat girl corrects her, saying Sensei was anything but weak, as he had saved her life by killing a death tree with one blow. What Annette focuses on from this bit of information, however, is how close the two had gotten. Meanwhile, Sensei discovers a coffin and decides to nap inside it like that's a completely normal thing to do upon finding one. He tells Annette and Tama not her real name to wake him up once they reach town. Elsewhere, in some faraway castle, a pink-haired princess stares vacantly at the vast body of water in front of her.